It's rare that a new debit card comes out and takes a spotlight. But I gotta say, the American Express debit card is quite impressive. Paired with the new American Express checking account, they're really tapping into a big existing market, especially when their research shows that Gen Xers, Millennials, and Gen Zers use debit cards for a lot of their spending. So today, we're gonna go over all the features of the debit card, the checking account, comparing it to some other options out there, and then go over why a debit card could be useful in more ways than you think. So American Express, as some of you may know, are really popular for their lineup of consumer cards like the American Express Platinum and Gold cards. And they do have a high yield savings account, but this is their first product into the checking account space. Yes, both checking and savings accounts are ways of storing your money, but with the savings account, you're only able to withdraw or transfer up to 9 times a month, whereas on the checking side, it's unlimited. Honestly, I don't know why there's still a distinction between these two accounts, because they're just ways of holding money. But I guess those are the rules. So in addition to transferring and withdrawing whenever you like, the account can be kept open with no minimums or any type of monthly fees. In a world where traditional banks will still charge you for having a checking account unless you have minimums, I guess this is a major plus on the American Express side. On top of that, the Amex account is offering 0.5% APY on your balance, whereas some traditional banks like Bank of America are offering rates less than 10 times that, again while requiring a fee or minimums for the account. Of course, I never recommend keeping too much money in these accounts anyways, because aside from month-to-month spending or emergency funds, you should be dumping all your other money into different types of diversified investments. But just taking the interest rate into perspective, a 0.5% rate will turn $10,000 into $11,600 in 30 years. But a 0.4% rate will only give you $10,120. That's a big difference. Then adding on to that, American Express is, in my opinion, miles ahead of all other banks in terms of customer service. Because instead of having to wait half an hour just to talk to someone before getting transferred to 3 other people, you can still call with American Express, but their 24/7 live chat with a real human has been able to solve any issues I've had over the years. With the card, you're also gonna get free ATM withdrawals at 37,000 MoneyPass ATM locations nationwide, which is great compared to most banks. But if you're looking for a card that will let you withdraw wherever and whenever for no fees, then you'll want to look at a card like the Charles Schwab debit card. It's really nice not having to carry a stack of cash around when traveling to countries like Japan, and instead just go to any convenience store and withdraw from the ATMs there, knowing that my fee will be reimbursed and also getting a pretty good exchange rate. And with all of these features, you'll be able to manage everything through the American Express app, which is quite nice to use, and be able to also deposit checks through the app. So even purely based on the requirements to keep the account open, the higher earnings through the higher APY, or their amazing customer service, Amex is already beating most of the competition. But enough about the checking account, what about the new debit card that comes with it? Like I mentioned before, American Express is no stranger to the consumer card game, especially with their successful lineup of cards, one of which I have, which is the American Express Platinum card, which means that they should know what they're doing when it comes to what people want to spend on and how they want to spend on them. And it seems like they did the research because they found out that Gen Xers and Millennials actually use debit cards for more than 50% of the time in certain cases like supermarkets and dining, which is surprising to me because why they don't just use a card like the Amex Gold, which will give them 4 times points on those categories, is something that I don't understand. That said, although this new card is not a credit card, they did pack a few things in there that are more unique to credit cards. For example, spending on the card will give you 1 membership award point for every $2 in eligible purchases. From there, if you don't already have an American Express Express card that earns membership reward points, then you'll be redeeming these points at 0.8 cents a point into your checking account. This is in fact higher than the 0.6 cents a point you get if you want a statement credit through one of their other consumer cards. Probably because with a debit card, you're going to be redeeming for cash to be put into their checking account versus giving you direct cash back like statement credit. On the other hand, if you do have other American Express cards that earn MR points, you will be able to combine those points. So that's one way to top off points and redeem for maximum value, like almost 10 cents a point when flying business class round trip over to Asia, something I discussed more in this video I'll link above. Similar to some other credit cards, but unique to debit cards, is that purchases with the card will be covered through purchase protection, meaning that anything you buy that's damaged or stolen within the first 90 days can be covered up to $1,000 per occurrence. This can come in real handy if you ran your AirPods through the wash and destroyed them. You can just claim with American Express and get it credited back to you. Now, unfortunately, unlike credit cards, this debit card does not have any type of sign-up bonus to incentivize new users. But that doesn't mean that they will never have it. Amex does have a history of incentivizing users by offering certain things to them, like getting 20 or 30,000 points for signing up for their pay over time program. So I think sign-up bonuses for this debit card is definitely on the table in the future. And if I were to guess, it'll probably be within the $100 to $200 in value range. Availability for this card could go up in the future too, because right now it's only limited to people who have one of American Express's other cards for more than 3 months. So with that said, why would you ever want to spend with a debit card? Well, if you can use credit cards, definitely go with those because there are so many more options with much higher value into the thousands of dollars sometimes. But there are some cases that debit cards are needed. For example, certain utility bills or rent payment. Or one open question is if you're able to have it qualify as a debit card when paying your taxes to the IRS. Because given the low flat fee for paying with debit, that means you can basically get free MR points for paying your taxes with the card. There are also stores out there that don't take credit at all and only take cash or debit. Maybe those stores don't want to pay the fee for credit card processing, but I've definitely been to a handful of stores that will only take cash or debit. So this is one way to use the debit card and still earn MR points, which is the first of its kind. Yes, the rate is tiny at 1 point per $2, but getting some points is better than getting no points. Amex's relationship with Charles Schwab is also worth a mention here. A while back, they allowed you to convert points at 1.25 cents per point through to the Schwab investment accounts, and then recently dropped down to 1.1 cent a point. Now, with American Express entering the checking account game, I wonder if there's going to be any changes coming in the future. I know Schwab offers much more, like having investment accounts, but it'll be interesting to see if American Express decides to go in that direction. Now, if we compare the American Express debit card with all the other debit cards out there, I'd say it easily takes one of the top spots. If you're comparing to traditional banks like Bank of America and Wells Fargo, then there's no question about it. Just having no minimums, much higher APYs, and much better customer service is enough to beat those out. If you're talking about newer ones like the Schwab debit card, then there may be some considerations there, but it's rare for debit cards to earn you different types of points, especially not valuable ones like American Express MR points. And don't forget about American Express's top-notch customer service. That said, I think this is American Express's first couple steps into the consumer account space. There's so much more they can do, like mimicking the Bank of America tiered reward system that will offer you benefits depending on how much money you have with them. Given we know American Express users on average have higher incomes and wealth, it'd be surprising if they don't try and go towards this crowd. Kicking off with a basic checking account and debit card combo like this is a really easy way to get at the low-hanging fruit and start converting some users over. Personally, I don't think I'm gonna get this card because the incentives aren't there, and I already use credit cards for over 99% of all my spending, which gives me way more perks and benefits for my spend. If you're newly looking for an account though, I'd say the American Express checking account and debit card combo should be at the top of your list. And if you are getting into the American Express ecosystem, then you'll want to check out this video that goes through the Amex trifecta, which shows you the trio of cards that will give you a ton of value for all of your spend. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.